And welcome, feds and degenerates. This is going to be mostly a review stream. I'll go on a little bit of a rant before I really dig into the reviews, but for the most part, it's going to be a review stream. I've managed to catch a few interesting shows and movies, and I promised you guys a review of the Batman Adventures Continue comic back when Kevin Conroy passed away. So we'll be doing that. I'll be kind of flipping through it just a little bit and showing you guys a little of what that comic's like in case you want to snag it for your collection later. Tonight's whiskey, I'm going back to the Four Roses Small Batch Select. Pretty good stuff. I've been meaning to go get a couple of new bottles, but I need to, you see how full this thing is? I need to kind of knock some of these bottles down just a little bit before I do some new whiskey reviews. Let me double check that my audio levels are good. Okay, they appear to be good. So I'm not going to get too deep into the headlines. Usually I like to start off the show talking about a bunch of headlines. But quite frankly, it seems like 90% of the news out there, or 90% of what people are talking about, is Twitter. And a lot of it's more of the same. The last time I talked to you about Twitter, Elon Musk had put up a poll whether or not he should bring back Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump has officially been unbanned. He has not posted. And then there have been some other high-profile unbannings. Project Veritas being one of them. Nick Rekieta being one of them. It's one I was cheering for. Sargon of Akkad. And there are tons more. I can't begin to list them all. Go find, if you had a former content creator or person you were following on Twitter that had gotten banned, go look for them now, because they might be back except for a few notable exceptions there. Still no Alex Jones, and there was a couple of other high-profile ones that are just slipping my mind right now. So that's Twitter. Another thing about Twitter, Elon Musk apparently found a closet full of hashtag Stay Woke t-shirts. No real news there, except for I would actually buy one of those t-shirts if conservatives and normal people would start using the hashtag Stay Woke in order to poke fun at the woke crowd for going broke. The go woke, go broke. Well, stay woke so that you can go broke and people like Elon Musk can buy up your companies and your franchises. Let's see. Disney. Bob Iger is back at Disney. That's another news story from the week. Let's see. What do we got trending here? Trending. Okay, we got Thanksgiving trending. So this is part of what's going on here today. Is I didn't do a whole lot of show prep because I've been doing dinner prep. I've spent most of the evening making 3 cheesecakes. I have to make our dinner for tonight, and I have some more prep for Thanksgiving tomorrow. So, this is going to be a little bit more of a laid-back show. I'm going to give you, a piece of my mind regarding some of the television shows I've caught up on lately. Trending hashtag since Elon bought Twitter. Okay. Yeah, see, I'm not, this has become just just a shit post. And shit posts are good, but, they're only fun for a couple of weeks and then they die out. I do find a lot of the Twitter news interesting, but let's be honest. One of the big news stories today has to do with a company called Balenciaga. I don't even know what the hell they even make. I guess it's clothing. But I guess they've recently done some advertisements in which they are kind of bragging about child exploitation. And there are lots of people who are actually covering that news story. All I'm going to say is there's some sick people in this world, and the pedophilia has gotten completely out of control. And, when you're an adult making content that involves bondage gear and bondage symbolism, and your model is a toddler, you're a sick motherfucker. I'm just gonna say that right out. These fucking pedophiles. These fucking pedophiles are disgusting. To be putting toddlers in your advertisements in sexual positions and holding fetish gear. And of course they've come out and said, "Oh, well, we fired that photographer. It's the photographer's fault." No. So yeah, there's that news story. Go find it. There's not much more I can cover from it. There are other people who have taken deep dives into Balenciaga, their CEO and all of this. There are people who've done deep dives on this company. Quite frankly, I'm just too disgusted. I can't do it. There are there are people exploiting children all over the internet every day. This is one thing I will go back to Twitter and give Elon Musk a little bit of credit. He did say that getting rid of the child exploiters and the pornography involving minors is a priority. So that's one good thing. Another hot news story that has come out today is that apparently the Trudeau government in Canada was considering using tanks against the trucker movement. Ladies and gentlemen, feds and degenerates, let's not fool ourselves. When the government views you as an enemy, that's just it. You are an enemy. And so everything you've seen our military do to our enemies, our government will view as justified to do to you. Pretty crazy. Anyway, so one thing I want to do. Hang on. Well, I got this here whiskey out. I want to give a toast to Jason David Frank, the Green Power Ranger. I know a lot of people watched Power Rangers when they were younger. I saw the movie. I saw some episodes. I wasn't really following the continuity that well, but I'm familiar with the Green/White Ranger, Tommy. So the actor Jason David Frank, who deleted himself from the earth this past week, sad to see you go. Kind of wished you had found a different way out of your problems. may your soul find peace. Cheers. Gotta love that Four Roses. To Tommy. All right. So those are the news stories of the week. Like I said, I'm not gonna get too deep into them because honestly, I don't give a shit. Other news stories, nightclubs getting shot up, and the news latched onto it as anti-gay hate, and it turns out the person who did the shooting was, identified as part of their community. What are you going to do? It's still somehow the Republicans' fault. Now they're shifting it to a problem with guns. I guess there was another shooting at a Walmart. Again, I'm not going to get into the political back and forth bullshit, except for, that any narrative they're going to come out with is going to be a polished narrative and a lie. Which brings me to our first first review / story of the night. And that is the release of a new documentary that has kind of taken the internet by storm. Now, I first started seeing some buzz about it on Twitter. I saw some buzz on it on Ricada's chat, and then I saw some people trying to buzz it up on Facebook, and people complaining that they were being shadow banned on Twitter and Facebook for using the hashtag died suddenly. Now, again, I'm not familiar with the filmmakers. I'm not familiar with the extent to the research that went into making the film. I'm not going to make any claims about the truthfulness of the claims of the film. Let me state that pretty forward. And the reason why I'm not going to make those claims is because I feel like even the film, as much as it made certain claims, I don't think... Like, this is one of those documentaries, and let me be clear about this. So there are certain ways in which one can philosophically examine society, right? I get a lot of shit when I'm arguing with crazy people on the internet because one thing I don't do is get bogged down in statistics, percentages, likelihoods, because quite frankly, what's right or wrong has no real percentage. I mean, you could make arguments that something is going to cause deaths and blah, blah, blah. But if you're advocating for freedom and liberty and, sometimes freedom is going to be icky. Sometimes it's going to cause deaths. And so I'm not necessarily willing to debate the percentages in the consequences of living a free life. If you want to make me a slave, that's not something I'm going to debate the details with you. I'm just going to say no thank you. So as I say that again, and I'm not making any claims about the film and its authenticity or genuineness, but what the film is attempting to do is ask questions. And this is a big problem with the conspiracy community, with the truth community, is the people seeking truth find evidence of wrongdoing or find ways in which things were not as they seemed, and then they ask questions. And when they ask questions, people tend to get aggressive and say, "Oh, what are you accusing me of?" as if asking questions has crafted an alternate narrative. See, this is part of my issue is there are conspiracy theories out there. Places where people have crafted an alternative narrative and said, yes, this is exactly what happened, and look at all the evidence that supports what I say happened. And the problem with that is often the conspiracy community doesn't have enough data to back that up. So instead, what I tend to follow are people who ask questions, people who simply point out the inconsistencies in an official narrative. People who point out that perhaps what the government told us about something isn't exactly true. And then ask, okay, so what's the real story? And so when one first opens up an alternate, let's just say an alternative media site, an alternative online video streaming website, and types in "died suddenly," and they begin to watch this film, there are a lot of little tiny buzz clips, some B-roll, where they talk a lot about conspiracy theories and lies and media narratives, and it's kind of a distraction because I don't think things not related to the topic in the film should matter as much. And what the topic of the film is why are people seemingly dying of sudden deaths? And so the film purports to bring on initially, so at the very beginning of the film, it purports to bring on several people in the funeral industry, embalmers, funeral directors, etc. People who have dealt with a certain number of people who have passed away over the last few years. And what they are saying is that a lot of them are noticing differences in the way people's circulatory system has behaved. Again, I make no medical claims here. I'm not claiming anything. I'm giving a review of the film. Anyway, the film purports and begins to show several very graphic images of a fibrous substance that they claim they are pulling out of several cadavers who have died suddenly. And then they begin to talk about an increase in the number of random mass deaths having to do with circulatory issues and heart issues. And again, things I can't get too deeply into here on YouTube, but it does make one kind of, it makes one question their own health, especially when we've lived in a time where a lot of unhealthy things are happening. Look, I'm not going to make no qualms. I'm a fat guy. Sometimes it's a little harder for me to breathe. Sometimes I have little tweaks of pains here and there. I'm getting older. And so when I see a film like this, it has me concerned. Now, granted, the ultimate claim that they are making is these things did not happen until certain treatments and pre-treatments for COVID-19 hit the market. I believe you might know what the heck I'm talking about, but I don't make that claim. The timing is quite suspect. And I just advise one, if you're interested in such a topic, go watch the film for yourself. It can easily be found other places on the internet. Like I said, there are some places that are censoring and shadow banning people for talking about it, so I'm not going to get too deeply into it. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. You know, I usually try to rate documentaries higher, especially if the documentary is attempting to ask questions. I think this one, look, there are three major topics in the film, and that's the fibrous substances, and then there's the military database in which they were documenting some of these things, and they claimed that the military database had disappeared. So that's another topic within the film. And then the third topic was trying to get the U.S. government and the CDC to admit certain statistics that were happening in other countries and that other countries were reporting and that doctors here in this country were reporting, but our government refused to acknowledge the statistics and the danger of certain medications. So, yeah, there were, and there's still every day more and more admissions on the internet of wrongdoing. You know, let me see. Let me get this headline exactly correct so I don't. Where did it go? I can't find it. Anyway, it was something along the lines of okay, here we go. The FDA now claims that when it told people not to take a certain medication that was criticized as being having veterinary applications for horses, if you know what the medication I'm talking about. Anyway, so the FDA says that when it told people not to take that it was just a recommendation. That they weren't telling people not to take it. They were just recommending that maybe they shouldn't. People were getting banned from social media for talking about that medication, which is why I'm not going to name it right now. But it's just a recommendation. Anyway, these people will lie to your face and then gaslight you that they never lied, that they were on your side the whole time. Just a recommendation, my ass. So, again, the film doesn't get too much into that specific medication, but it does talk about the fact that, you know, several people in government just aren't willing to listen to the truth. Several people in the media just aren't willing to listen to the truth. Again, so you have these whistleblower doctors who are dealing with government entities. And then you also have these embalmers who are dealing with this mysterious fibrous substance and all of these increased numbers of people who are dying suddenly. And so my concern with the film, the reason I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 is to someone who's looking for a causal link between all of these things. And just to make an assumption that it has to do with Moderna and Pfizer and these companies and their product. The assumption that it's automatically linked without, and granted, they give some anecdotal evidence, but it's anecdotal. I mean, they do talk about VAERS quite a bit, but even it's a self-reporting system. I could go on there right now and say I've been injured by a vaccine. Now, granted, I'm not supposed to do that, and they could then open an investigation, determine that I was lying, and take it off of there. But we don't know. We don't know how much of what is on VAERS has been confirmed and has been confirmed to have that causal link. So, this has been one of my criticisms of people who automatically use VAERS as their only source of reference when talking about how dangerous that needle was. And I'll tell you, I didn't take the needle, and I'm not going to. There was this funny video. I say funny. It's sad. It's funny in a sad freaking way. Of Ice Cube basically saying, fuck that jab. It cost me $9 million. I told him no. So, you know what? We're going to take a toast. Shout out to Ice Cube. Shout out to Ice Cube for telling him, fuck you, this is my body. Regardless if you're pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine, whatever, I'm pro-freedom. The freedom to say no. He said no. So, cheers to no. Just say fucking no. Oh, yeah, that Four Roses is good shit. There's some pretty graphic, so I'll give you that warning. There's some pretty graphic, lots of blood in that documentary. So if you go search for it, make sure you're not eating while you're watching it. All right, y'all. So there's that. I mean, it's an interesting. I give it a 5 out of 10. It's an interesting documentary. Definitely go watch it. It's a little over an hour. So it's not like it's full feature length. It's something you could watch in a afternoon before dinner. Hope you still have an appetite afterward. But yeah, sadly, they talk about a lot of side effects of certain medications, and they get into a lot of that. Now that's a little more valid than just flat out talking about VAERS, but talking about people who know that they have been afflicted with side effects. And there are a few of those anecdotal things in there. But again, if it's all anecdote, you can change the minds of people who are open-minded. But there are far too many people who are closed-minded on this subject and are just going to listen to the government. So it doesn't matter how right you are and how much the anecdotes align up with what the truth is. There's going to be another truth out there that's basically just gaslighting, and people will voluntarily gaslight themselves. And that's just the world we live in. Because some people just blindly trust the media even though they lie to us every day of the week. For example, now you say that on Twitter. You talk about how the media lies and we need to preserve our alternative media and let people like Project Veritas back on Twitter to report the truth about things, and then you'll inevitably have some idiot chime in, talk about how, Project Veritas is propaganda and CBS News is the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a tweet that went mildly viral responding to that exact comment. Because I said, CBS News, right? This organization that literally, this was yesterday, that literally just yesterday, admitted that the Hunter Biden laptop was real after 2 years of saying it couldn't be confirmed. Then they finally went and hired their own forensic investigators. I don't know if you folks saw this on CBS This Morning, or CBS Mornings, or whatever the hell they call their show. But yeah, they went and did a forensic examination of the clean hard drive data for Hunter Biden's laptop and have confirmed that they believe it's real and problematic. So after 2 years of saying it couldn't be confirmed, that it was probably Russian propaganda, and again, we're told former intelligence officials. Now, why are we listening to former intelligence officials in the first place? But anyway, we were told the former intelligence officials said it was Russian propaganda. The New York Post ran with it. Eventually, the New York Times admitted it. And now we have CBS News, after 2 years of lying to us, admitting to us what the reality really was. CBS News, the same CBS News that had Leslie Stahl sitting across from President Donald Trump. And President Donald Trump brought up Hunter Biden's laptop and she said, oh, it's a non-story. We can't even confirm that it's a real story. And dismissed him and shut him down and shut him up and then tried to move him on to another topic. I'm sorry I'm ranting about this when I'm trying to finish off my review, but, you know, it's this idea that we can't trust our alternative media, but we're supposed to trust these people who admittedly lie to us on a weekly fucking basis. Well, fuck you, Leslie Stahl. Fuck you, CBS. Legitimately, fuck you. As Jack Murphy would say, heartfelt. Fuck you, heartfelt. Heartfelt. Fuck you. Yeah, I'm using some spicy language tonight. So we're told that we can't listen. Go find alternative sources, please. I hope I'm one of them. I hope I'm somebody who won't lead you astray, lead you wrong. I'm not saying I couldn't be an Alex Jones and saying that, again, take what I say with a grain of salt. Please go research it for yourself. I'm not automatically going to say that these people have committed a crime. I'm not saying that these people have specifically done one thing or another. I am reporting on reportings of a news story. This is opinion commentary on reports of other news stories. And anything I talk about, go research on Twitter. Go find the headline for yourself. Go find other people talking about this, because none of these stories originate with my own personal investigation. They're things that I run into on a daily basis when I'm just enjoying myself on social media. And I see where they've lied to us, and I get pissed off. Because I can remember all the things they told us about a certain horse medication. I remember how there were news reports where doctors had their licenses threatened. Don't know if it was by the FDA. But it would seem kind of silly for such extreme taxes to be taken over such a light recommendation. Anyway, so again, I said I wasn't going to dig too much into headlines, and now I've kind of gotten off topic. go check out the film. It's on alternative video platforms everywhere on the internet. All you have to do is look for that hashtag died suddenly, and somebody will have a link to it somewhere. It's, like I said, it's interesting, it's disgusting. Careful with your dinner. Check it out. Now, you know what, before I do that, I'll go into the second review of the night. You know, I gave a review here a couple months ago on the Sylvester Stallone movie Samaritan. In the same week I watched that movie, I saw a trailer that Stallone was going to be in another project called Tulsa King. Saw a couple of the previews. Didn't look like it was really going to be something up my alley. And I'm not a huge Stallone fan. I've seen the Rocky stuff. I've seen some of the Rambo stuff. I really, really liked Samaritan. I think I gave it a good, 8 or 9 review when I reviewed it. It was pretty good. I definitely recommend people check it out. But I started seeing advertisements for this Tulsa King, and it just didn't look like anything up my alley. It looked like it was a wannabe Sopranos kind of rip-off thing, and I'm not into the whole. There's some things that can pull off the Italian gangster stuff and be really awesome, and then there's other ones that can't exactly do that as well. And this idea that it'd be, a gangster in the cowboy lands, I was skeptical. And I really had no interest in watching it. However, sometimes you just wind up hovering over that icon for that show you wasn't intending to watch, and you're not doing anything else, so you're just like, let's check it out and see what it's like. Ladies and gentlemen, Feds and Degenerates. Holy shit. That was a good fucking show. I mean, it's so far only 2 episodes have been released. New episodes come out every Friday. I think it's on Paramount Plus. It may also be on Amazon, but I don't think so. I think it's all Paramount Plus. But yeah, Sylvester Stallone, he's putting out some fucking content, man. Samaritan was pretty awesome. And then this show, it kind of starts in a weird, okay, this is a Stallone movie kind of way, but then there are some scenes. There have been, in the first 2 episodes, there have been 4 scenes where I'm just like, fuck yeah, fuck yeah. Because it's not the usual garbage that Hollywood's cramming down our throat. There are interesting and entertaining storylines being weaved through this, and the characters are being introduced, and then we're slowly getting more and more backstory to all these characters, and it's working out. It's logical. It's like someone's actually trying to tell us a good fucking story, people. Now, Paramount Network, or Paramount, CBS, Viacom, whatever the hell they are now, that corporation definitely does some shit that I don't like. But man, they put out the Beavis and Butthead movie, they're putting out the South Park stuff, and assuming that this is Paramount, they put this out, and this is pretty fucking good. Now, I have my criticisms about CBS now. 50 NCISs, 10 FBI shows. I'm sick of the crime dramas. They brought back fucking CSI Las Vegas, and then they're trying to make it a new thing, and it's not working. CBS actually sucks. And I was just bitching about CBS News a little bit ago. So fuck you, CBS. Fuck you, Leslie Stahl. But somewhere in that corporate structure of CBS, Paramount, Viacom, someone's actually putting out some good fucking content. And thank you, Sylvester Stallone. You know, I want to give a toast. Give a toast to Sly. Because this show is surprisingly fucking good. In fact, there's a scene, minor spoiler here. I'm going to give a minor spoiler here. So if you don't skip forward about, let's say about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, no, let's be 3 minutes to be on the safe side. I won't get into any other topic for 3 minutes here. Let's see, 7:42 will be 7:45. I won't get into another topic till then. So if you want to skip the spoilers, skip 3 minutes ahead, or go away for 3 minutes and come back. So there's this scene where Stallone, he goes into a bar, right? And, you know, he's this East Coast Italian gangster in a black suit, hair slicked back, and he walks in to a cowboy honky tonk. And it's that scene you see in every one of these kind of movies of the guy out of place, out of his depth, and he goes into the cowboy bar. And you just know when he walks in, you're thinking, oh shit, this scene's going to end in a fucking bar fight because he's going to say the wrong thing and somebody else is going to be drunk and blah, blah, blah. And they kind of tease it. But then he winds up buying the guys a drink. They have a drink together. And they're friendly because they're adult men. Adult men who can control their fucking masculinity in a positive fucking way. Like most of us. They didn't go for the movie stereotype. They showed us how men really fucking act when we pull up to the bar and want a little bourbon. And so he shares a bourbon with these guys and shares stories with the bartender. And he has a fucking man moment with other men. And it didn't involve being toxic. It didn't involve being assholes to each other, being aggro. They were friendly, masculine men being masculine in a positive way that wasn't overtly gay or effeminate. They were being macho, but they were being in a good mood and bonding as adult fucking men over a glass of fucking whiskey. All right. So, gonna wait for anybody who left to come back. Maybe help them out by... The other thing I'm going to review is Batman The Adventures Continue. I'll review that in just a minute. But I'm going to say that you gotta love it. You gotta love when you think you're about to watch something that's going to be preachy or woke, and then it surprises you in good ways. Or when you think you're going to watch something that's typically over the top, and it's not. It gives you a good story of connections. Now, granted, there are a lot of scenes that are overly macho, overly manly. There's enough action in this show to where the average viewer can get hooked on the action and the machismo and the tough guyness, right? But the one place where you thought it was going to be, it's not going to be there. And you can appreciate that. You can appreciate the humanity of these characters. There's another scene in the second episode where a joke is made about certain types of people. And there are multiple jokes about different types of people. So this is the thing. No, it doesn't take itself too seriously. And it understands that jokes are jokes. And it's able to make those jokes and move on in a way where it's like, okay, we weren't trying to offend anybody with that. We're going to leave it hanging there. We're going to move on. And it's great because it's great entertainment. Again, I've only seen the first 2 episodes, and so those 2 episodes, I give a 9 out of 10. Go check out that show. Tulsa King. Like I said, I believe it's on Paramount Plus, or maybe even the Paramount Network. Not sure, but yeah, it's on Paramount something. So, the last thing I'm going to review is this comic here, Batman The Adventures Continue. I've been watching a lot of Batman the Animated Series since Kevin Conroy died. Mostly because I wanted his voice in my head. Because he's the voice of Batman, flat out. If you don't think he's the voice of Batman, get the fuck out. He's the only Batman, you know. I don't care who you put in a bat suit and put in a movie. There is no production. There is no acting that can compare to the voice acting of Kevin Conroy and his ability to inflict the urgency of whatever Batman was doing in the moment, or the calmness of Bruce Wayne, and be able to switch between those two when it was important to, and to be able to give a deep resonance to the character. So again, rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. Oh yeah, I gave a cheers to Sylvester Stallone, but never took a drink. So one for Kevin Conroy. And so that inspired me to get The Adventures Continue. Now, there have been 3 or 4 series of comic books over the last several years that have been The Batman Adventures, or The Gotham Adventures, or The Batman and Robin Adventures. So there have been a few comic runs that have been tied into the animated universe. I have not read any of those comics. For one, this here is written by Alan Burnett and Paul Dini, who are the creators of Batman the Animated Series. They have done some of the comics in those other runs, but they haven't really done the entire runs of those comics. So you're getting a lot of influence from other writers and people who may not get the feel of. And again, I'm only guessing because I don't know. I haven't read those comics, but people who I don't necessarily trust to get the feel of Batman the Animated Series spot on. So I would like to actually read those comics. They kind of rotate in and out of print. I might eventually pick them up, but as of right now, don't have them. But these are in print. The Batman Adventures Continue series. They have a season 1 and a season 2. I'm just giving a review for the season 1 at this time. And I kind of was flip-flopping back and forth on how I was going to give this review. Because as I was reading it, I was angry. I was a little pissed off because it didn't have the feel of Batman the Animated Series. The emotion was there. The feel of the city was there. The feel of the characters were there. But there was something about the pacing of the stories that upset me. And it took me a while to put my finger on it. Because as soon as I convinced myself I didn't like it, then I convinced myself I must be wrong. And let me be clear. Okay, so very early in this, we're shown this dark, shadowy character in a trench coat following around Batman and Batgirl and Robin. And there's this whole story where Robot and Superman and Lex Luthor, and then all of a sudden they got Deathstroke. So they introduced Deathstroke. Now again, I don't know if Deathstroke was in the animated universe before from the Justice League cartoon, but he wasn't in Batman the Animated Series or the new Batman Adventures. And so to see him just kind of pop up as an assassin, and he's looking for Firefly allegedly, and then you find out, well, the whole time he's the one that hired Firefly. But anyway, so the shadowy figure is still following Batman, and his allies are around. And then so you have this kind of weird three-way thing of Batman, Robin, and Batgirl versus Deathstroke versus this character who, obviously, when you see the character, it's Jason Todd. So this is how they decide to bring the Red Hood to the animated universe. And not only Red Hood, but Deathstroke. And then toward the tail end, all of a sudden Azrael appears. And so it's like there are all these storylines that happened in the comics, in the mainline continuity between, was it 97-ish when the cartoon went off the air, and now, that was just kind of ignored back then, because Jason Todd wasn't a thing. But now these things exist in the comics, and they are important storylines and important characters and recurring characters with recurring themes. And so they're trying to find a way to bring these into the comics, and I feel like it was fucking ham-fisted. But I kept asking myself, why do I think it's ham-fisted? Because ultimately, this is what the animated series did. It took old stories and old characters and revamped them and revived them and made them a little bit different. But there's something different about it this time. And it was hard to put my finger on why I feel like it's ham-fisted here. And I thought, is it just because I saw the animated series before I saw the origins of a lot of the other origins of all these characters? No. Because that's not exactly true to the T. There are some of the characters in which I did see the comic origin before the cartoon origin. And yet I still ultimately hold Batman the Animated Series as one of the important artworks. Like, I don't shun any of the ways in which they've portrayed these characters. So why don't I like this? Well, I think I know why. I think it's the pacing. I think in 8 issues, to have essentially told 2 of the biggest sagas and thrown in other extra characters like Clayface and this robot and Firefly. You've got these Azrael stories. You've got 8 issues. Wait, there's more than 8 issues, isn't there? Okay, it's 8 issues, but it is several chapters. So we got 15 chapters. 15 chapters out of 8 issues. So 15 chapters, and you've told essentially 3 giant saga stories and then injected a bunch of side characters. That's a lot. That's a lot to be trying to accomplish in, they say 8 issues. I'm going to call it 15. 15 issues. And I've kind of got a sneak peek of season 2. I've got the comic here, but I haven't cracked it just yet. But I know that they do the same thing there. They take things that are canon in the mainstream continuity and are telling new stories with those characters and continuing some of the stories from season 1. So it's like, okay, now we're going bigger and we're going bigger and we're going bigger. When this is the key. What the greatest thing about Batman the Animated Series? They fucking kept it simple, stupid. Even their most complicated stories, you'd have 1, maybe 2 villains, couple heroes, and they had to figure it out. You didn't have, oh, look, here's a surprise villain that was waiting in the background the whole time. To be continued. The only to be continued you ever saw in Batman the Animated Series were when they were digging so deeply into one character, one character digging so deeply into their backstory and into the characterization of that character and their effect on Gotham City and on Batman, that it couldn't be told in a 30-minute timeline. You dug that deep. This isn't digging that deep. It's throwing spaghetti, ravioli, mostaccioli, linguine, fettuccine. It's throwing it all at the wall and seeing what sticks. And as much as I like Paul Dini's work, and I do, I've got a lot of Paul Dini's works over here. And I love him on Batman, and I love Batman the Animated Series. Batman the Adventures Continue is not Batman the Animated Series. And it's not the continuation of the animated universe, in my opinion. It's a way to take a marketing gimmick, to take nostalgia of the DC animated universe, and try to stretch a few more dollars into it. And again, as much as I trusted Alan Burnett and Paul Dini, let me be clear. The stories aren't bad. The stories are pretty fucking good. But it's too much. If you would have slowed down and told these stories one at a fucking time, maybe I wouldn't have so much criticism. But the pacing is not what I expected from Batman the Animated Series. Sorry. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's worth buying. It's worth reading. They're interesting stories. They're Batman comics. But that's just it. They read like these Batman comics. They read like someone wanted to make these this. And that's not what Batman the Animated Series is. Batman the Animated Series is a serial where you take one chapter at a time. And it doesn't have to be in a timeline. You ain't got to worry about what came before and what comes after and what the next... Except for those few instances where they had a to be continued. That's what made that show spectacular. And again, I haven't read the other Batman Adventures comics. I may eventually get to those. I've been trying to check them out and see what's what. We'll see. But as of right now, this, I can't give it a good review. I'm giving it 6 out of 10. It's worth checking out, but not worth the nostalgia that I built up. I wanted Kevin Conroy. I wanted Kevin Conroy's Batman, and what I got was something more akin to whatever's going on with that Gotham Knights game. It is what it is. Anyway, so that's our show for tonight. Let me go ahead and finish my whiskey here. Cheers to everybody out there. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving, or if you don't celebrate that holiday, then a great rest of the week. If you have to work through the holidays, you have my salute to you for your hard work and your service, and hopefully you can reach a status in life where you don't have to work holidays. I had to for several years of my life, and I've finally attained a level where I don't have to do that. And yeah, I wish all of you the same, the ability to see family and take care of yourselves, and to have some time away from the hustle and bustle and grind of your daily life just once in a blue moon. So, if you're going to ask me what I'm thankful for, I'm thankful that several people I love still exist. Even if they're upset with me, even if they don't know me for who I really am, I'm thankful you're out there. I had a person recently in my life who I haven't connected with in a real way in a long time. Since our mid-20s, early 30s. And he recently passed away. Even though we weren't on the same page, it's kind of like, what if? What if we could have been better friends to each other? What if we could have made time just to smile and laugh? And now he's gone. We can't have that reconnection of old friends and laughter that we used to have. It can't be rekindled because, my old bro, one of my old bros, one of the people that I used to really consider one of the top 5 people in my life, he hasn't been for several years, that top 5 people, but it's this weird situation where when someone passes away, you always wonder about the what ifs. And so to anyone out there who's missing a loved one this Thanksgiving, there are loved ones I'm missing, but I'm thankful that they exist, and I'm thankful that for the most part I know that they're healthy, because if they weren't healthy, I would have found out about it. I'm glad that they have a life that fulfills them in such a way. And likewise, I'm thankful that I have a very fulfilling life, and I'm thankful I have this outlet along with several others. And so that's my message to y'all. Take care of each other. And treat your loved ones as if they're not going to be there forever, because they won't. Love one another. Anyway, I'll catch you this Saturday. There's a small possibility I might be able to stream Monday afternoon. I'll have more on that on Saturday. But we'll have the usual Saturday stream, 4 p.m. Central. In the meantime, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Leave a comment below. Tell me what I could be doing differently. Tell me your Thanksgiving story. Tell me your story about things that documentary that I reviewed earlier are covering. Just be careful. Don't say anything that might get you banned from YouTube. Anyway, catch you next time, y'all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Don't get any on you. And if you do, rub it in real good. Ooh, burpee.